angry doctors. Recently, I've been observing social media, particularly Twitter, and I've seen doctors who have either themselves contracted COVID-19 or a loved one contracted COVID-19. They turn to Twitter to express their rage. Now, it's understandable that no one wants to get sick with COVID-19, and I get that. And it's also understandable that no one wants a loved one to get sick with COVID-19. What troubles me about these tweets that I'm going to show you and walk you through is not that the person is upset that they have contracted the virus, but how they choose to air that anger, how they turn on other people. And that is what I find disturbing about these recent tweets. So let me walk you through them. These are what I had seen and read recently. These aren't just anybody. These are doctors. And I think doctors take an oath, of course, to do what's best for the patients in front of them and to not think about who those patients are or what were the circumstances that led to get them there. But now that they're sick, you got to do your best for them, no matter how they got there. It's not up to you to judge it. The first person is a doctor and a faculty member. This person writes, because I always aim to be honest, transparent, and when needed, vulnerable on Med Twitter, I'm not going to hide this hot off the press result. I have COVID. Fuck. I'm also not going to hold back on the forthcoming Twitter rant and a picture of a positive. And it goes on. How am I feeling? Honestly, jet lagged. Tiredness feels like that, not total body fatigue. I have a mild, dry, scratchy throat, but also just spent the better part of 24 hours on planes. I have post-nasal drip, but I also ran out of my Singulair and Flonase with our travel delays. How am I feeling emotionally? Here comes the rant. I'm fucking pissed at the world and humanity right now. I'm fucking pissed at the selfishness and refusals to vaccine or mask. The current variant is surging, especially abroad. It's COVID. What COVID? This person writes. They go on. Even when the first cases in our group were announced, masks were encouraged, not recommended. They should have become mandatory on the spot. Mask wearing was fucking terrible on planes and at airports. Just wear the goddamn mask! Exclamation mark. My family and I have avoided COVID for almost 2.5 years, during which time I have busted my ass and driven myself to physical and mental burnout while caring for post-COVID patients and trying to advocate for COVID risk mitigation. I got COVID because #COVID is not over. The plan is to get some sleep, major jet lag, rest and relax as much as possible, pursue Paxlovid eligibility, initiate symptomatic treatment as needed. I have an Apple Watch so I can check heart rate and O2. I'm a healthy, vaccinated 41-year-old. And the next one. COVID-19 has hit my kid. We vaccinated, masked, ate outside, and yet I hate the people who downplayed masks and continue to push misinformation. The disappointment on his face as we cancel long-made plans is devastating. COVID is not over. Tweetatrition, parenting. Tweetiatrician. I may mispronounce that word that I'm not familiar with. Parenting. I believe it is a pediatrician who tweets. What do these tweets tell me? First of all, I think I'm a little disturbed by the amount of vitriol in the tweets. I understand, and I want to say right off the bat, I wish the best to all these people involved. I hope this child recovers very quickly and very fully, and I hope that faculty member, I think these are both faculty members, and the faculty member and doctor recovers fully and without any sequela, and so I wish them the very best for their personal health. But I am troubled by the level of vitriol and anger in these tweets, and more importantly, what it means about the medical profession, what it means about COVID-19, and maybe some of the implications for where our policy went wrong. And let me walk you through that. Maybe we'll go to the beginning. I have COVID, fuck. I just think it's a lot of anger. And I think that there's a disconnect in public messaging, and the messaging has been that, if we did all these things, we might be able to avoid it. Of course, I think since last year, it's become abundantly clear that vaccines cannot halt breakthrough infection. They are incapable of fully halting breakthrough, and with repeated exposures and enough time, breakthrough is inevitable. We will all eventually have a COVID-19 breakthrough if we live long enough. And I think we should have sort of the emotional resiliency of having that experience. as we would have had for flu in 98 or flu in 2008. I would have felt bad that I got it. I would have wished I didn't get the flu. I remember having the flu, I think, in 2018, 2012, many years, and I didn't want the flu. But I certainly didn't explode in rage when I got the flu. I recognize that respiratory viruses, the reason they spread is because human beings, as part of who we are, we get close to each other. We breathe the same air. So it's natural that respiratory viruses will spread. It really is no one's fault, and it's nothing to get so concerned about, or nothing to get so angry about. I'm glad this person is only experiencing the mild scratchy throat and fatigue, but not total body fatigue, and some postnasal drip. But I do think that being pissed at the entire world and humanity seems disproportionate. Pissed at selfishness and refusals to vaccine or mask. I guess this strikes me as problematic because this person's thread actually detailed the countries that they went to. These are countries with very high vaccination rates. It's more than likely that it was a vaccinated person that spread COVID-19 to this person. This person talked about in their thread about participating in shared meals and eating indoors. And although they, quote, sat by the door, they still lowered the mask to eat. And so, of course, when you're in an indoor space and you lower the mask to eat, it is natural that there's a risk of COVID-19. So I'm not sure, even if the entire world were vaccinated, actually, I am sure, even if the entire world were vaccinated, we would still have COVID-19 breakthroughs. So refusals to vaccinate, I think, are kind of off the table. It wasn't responsible. Refusals to mask, I think if this person talked about how they were a very avid masker and they masked pretty religiously, and I think that it is highly unlikely that when one person wears an N95 tight fitting, that it really also requires the other person to do anything to protect you. For instance, I've been rounding for the last few months, off and on, week here, week there, 2 weeks here, 2 weeks there. I often enter the room of somebody with known COVID-19 wearing my N95 mask, and they're not wearing any mask at all. It's their room, it's their patient's room. I never once worried about my own personal safety. And so I think blaming other people for not masking, I think, is counterproductive and unhelpful, really, because a mask, even if you assume 5%, 10%, 15%, 20% benefit, with repeated exposure, breakthrough is inevitable. Mask wearing was fucking terrible at planes and airports, and just wear the goddamn mask. I think this is part of the sentiment that why public health was really ineffective. I mean, I think you're not going to win hearts and minds if your slogan is just wear the goddamn mask. I think that is too insulting to people. I think it's too hostile. My family and I avoided COVID for 2.5 years, where I've busted my ass and driven myself to physical and mental burnout while caring for post-COVID patients and trying to advocate for COVID risk mitigation. I guess I would say that I'm a little concerned for those COVID-19 patients, because if you have so much animosity and so much hatred towards somebody who decided not to vax for whatever complex reasons, so much so that you hate them, that you're willing to curse about them, you hate all of humanity, I worry about these patients. Would I want my mother or father, if they happen to choose not to vax, under the care of a doctor who had so much contempt or hatred for people who are unvaccinated? And to me, it's kind of scary, actually. It's scary in a way I've never seen in medicine. All these years of practicing, I'm in my, 17th year in medicine, watching doctors, being in the hospital, practicing as a fellow, resident, attending for quite a while now, and I've never seen this level of hatred towards any group of people, and I certainly wouldn't condone it. We always approach people with compassion. So to me, I guess I am troubled to see that this is somebody not only who has these strong feelings, but is taking care of people who have survived COVID-19, some of whom may have been not masking to this doctor's satisfaction, or not vaccinated to this doctor's satisfaction. And I worry about those patients, and I think I would be really kind of troubled if it were my loved one. The plan is to get some rest and pursue Paxlovid eligibility. I'm a healthy, vaccinated 41-year-old. So here's another thing that jumped out at me, which is that, of course, Paxlovid has proven benefit in the EPIC-HR randomized control trial, unvaccinated, older, vulnerable people. But a healthy, vaccinated 41-year-old, I just don't think we have data to support Paxlovid. Ironically, taking Paxlovid in that circumstance might even breed drug resistance and actually harm someone else in a way that being unvaccinated probably doesn't. This person probably did get the virus from a fellow vaccinated person whom they know. This tweet troubles me because this person was saying, we vaccinated, we masked, we even ate outside, and yet they got COVID. I hate the people who downplayed masks and continue to push misinformation. I guess there's kind of a disconnect in the tweet itself, which is that, the tweet reveals that even if you do everything perfectly, you can still get COVID. And that's the point. I mean, it is that contagious that it's not a matter of if I get COVID, it's when I'll get COVID if I live long enough. And so I think it's wrong to hate the people who really asked us to consider more dispassionately and honestly the evidence base for masking. And we can't forget that the evidence base did a 180-degree switch from early 2020 to the middle of 2020, where we went from it was not the advice of CDC, WHO, or NIAID, and to that it was the law of the land. I think it didn't help that Donald Trump didn't wear a mask. I think that made a lot of people on the opposite side of the political spectrum dig in harder to wear a mask. I'm a scientist. I only look at the evidence. Published a systematic review on this topic with my colleagues Ian Liu and Jonathan Darrow from Harvard, where we find the evidence is weak and lacking for community masking, which was the CDC consensus. So I do find this problematic. I guess I would say that if you hate so much people who have different points of view about these medical interventions, my concern is, are you a fair and impartial doctor? And I really do worry. We've seen the ABIM and other organizations have said we want to crack down on misinformation. We don't want misinformation. I think there are misinformation, of course. There's misinformation in one direction and the other direction. I think this is the part we miss. One direction, the idea that the vaccines somehow have a microchip in it, or other sorts of conspiracy theories that 5G causes virus, or these kinds of ideas. I think those are wrong. I think that it is unlikely for this vaccine to be causing total sterility, as I think some people often think. That's misinformation. On the other side, I think we have to acknowledge the CDC has put forward a lot of studies that have really deep limitations and deep flaws, and that's also a type of misinformation. That misinformation bolsters some of their claims in a problematic way, and people like Paul Offit, Marion Gruber, Phil Krause, and others have spoken out about that CDC information that's almost propaganda supports the administration. So misinformation can happen in all directions. I mean, it can push you in all directions. We only regulate in one direction, the direction in which power flows, and not the other direction in which power comes. But I think that what's happened here is the biggest piece of misinformation. That misinformation is that if you did everything right, you wouldn't get COVID. And the second biggest lie, which is that if you get COVID, it's because of what the other people did, the bad people. And those are two of the most harmful pieces of misinformation. And it's harmful when the average person holds that view, but it's even more harmful when a doctor holds that view. And it's particularly harmful when a doctor who cares for COVID-19 patients is saying that kind of language. I mean, I would honestly feel deeply concerned about their care and conduct of the patient. I would want to investigate if they were providing impartial care or discriminatory care against people who were unvaccinated. The ABIM wants to regulate misinformation. The ABIM needs to investigate doctors who use such hostile terms for patients. I think that's always inappropriate. We should not judge people for how they ended up in our emergency rooms in hospitals or in clinics. We should provide them the best available medical care. And I think these sentiments are reflective of a broader anxiety and a broader rage, a broader hatred and antipathy amongst each other, and is also part of the reason why our policy was so difficult and we couldn't have conversations, because people have this kind of emotion that they're bringing to the table. I think the best way to think about health policy is absolutely dispassionately, and to consider the numbers, to consider the facts, to consider the data, and to consider what studies might reduce uncertainty. And that's what I hope to bring you. So those are my thoughts. Angry doctors put a chill down my spine. I'm pretty concerned about it. As you can, I think you can tell from the video. This is the channel. This is what you get on the channel. You know what to do. If you like this video, like, subscribe, comment, leave a message below, send it to a friend, and until next time.